Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is my great pleasure to be able to talk again with Dakotah Lindwurm, professional marathoner for Puma. She's coming fresh off of a finish at Grandma's Marathon again this year, and I couldn't wait to talk to her again because it was about this time last year. I think it was the last time I got a chance to sit down with her, and I've seen her here and there in other cities, and it's been great to kind of like say hi and stuff, but it's great to sit down again. So Dakotah, welcome. It's great to talk with you again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back on.
Grandma's was just a few days ago now. How are you feeling?
I feel really good. I think every time I run a marathon, I seem to recover a little bit better and better. So I was moving pretty well even that night. I was a little sore Sunday, but I feel pretty good now. I feel back to normal.
Okay, and you're already back at work, it seems.
I am, yeah, yep. So I'm a paralegal, which is all remote, so pretty easy, sitting at my desk all day.
Okay, but you didn't want to schedule a couple of days off for yourself so you can just kind of relax, take a break from all the marathon training?
Well, it worked out well. I took Thursday and Friday off to kind of center myself before the race, and then Monday was Juneteenth, so I had that off of work also. So it was kind of a little mini vacation.
Okay, really cool. Can we talk about Grandma's a little bit?
I'd love to.
All right, so you were going into the race looking for that three-peat because you were the 2022 and the 2021 champion. It didn't quite work out that way.
It didn't.
How did it go for you?
Yeah, it was really bittersweet because you can't control how anybody else does. You can't control who's on the starting line. But that was my goal, and I was going to own it. I don't care who was going to be on that starting list. I was going to try to win. So the gun went off, and honestly, from the start line to 20, I had no idea where anybody else was. I was on my own for women. I had found a good little group of men to run with, but had no idea that the entire time there was a pack of 3 or 4 women just 10, 15 seconds back from me. I had zero clue, and if I had known, maybe I would have run the race a little bit differently because I really like that camaraderie that comes with American women on the scene right now. So who knows, if I had known that, maybe I would have, taken a second to let them catch me so we could have worked together. But somewhere around 20, Lauren Higgins passed me, and she just had the strength that I didn't at that time. I tried to kind of stay with her for a mile or two, but she ended up just kind of besting me at the end there. 3 weeks before Grandma's, I had a stomach bug that left me in the hospital from dehydration, and then I got kidney stones from the dehydration. So, given all the variables that went into the weekend, it was a good race. I finished feeling pretty disappointed. I had amazing support up there in Duluth, but I remember telling my family, I was like, I just need 5 minutes to go in the bathroom and cry and just kind of feel sad for myself. I was happy for Lauren. That was an incredible debut. But I was sad to not win in Duluth. But as time has gone by, as I've got some distance from it now, I feel really happy with that result. I'd had a year of really, I don't want to say bad races, but races I wasn't really happy with, and I can really say I'm happy with that race on Saturday.
I mean, as an outsider looking in, it looks like a phenomenal race. The time was a really good time. Coming in second is no small feat. And so it looks amazing to me. And, it's a question that I've been asking more pros lately about results that I think are pretty fantastic is are you disappointed with it? Because it always surprises me. I know you guys all are so competitive and you have high expectations, but it's always surprising to hear honest answers like that you were disappointed in, a second place finish at Grandma's when everyone's coming after you since you're the reigning 2-time champ.
Yeah, at some point in the night, I got asked about it a lot that night. And at some point I was like, the queen had to be usurped at some point. But yeah, it's hard because if I had won in that time, I would have been thrilled. I would have been super excited. I ran a really consistent race, probably my most consistent marathon to date. And so if I had won, I would have been on top of the moon. But coming in second is just bittersweet, especially when it's your marathon to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of talk about you coming in as the reigning champ and also as with a course record attempt kind of on the line as well. I felt like all eyes were on you. Is that something that you were Is that something that like weighed in on you, like looking back on it now, in terms of like how where you were in terms of mental energy for this race?
I would say a little bit. I would really wish I could say, no, I don't let any of that stuff get to me. But as I was laying down, I actually asked my boyfriend, I was like, what do you think I should do? Should I go for the win, like play it safe, go for the win, or should I go for the course record? And he was like, well, what's more important? And I'm like, well, at this point, I've talked so much about how the course record is important to me. I feel like I have to go for it. But like weather ended up not being super favorable for it, especially compared to last year. So yeah, those, those newspaper articles, the people talking about it, the comments I see, like they definitely do start to play like on your emotions and make you think like, if I don't go for the course record, are people going to be disappointed? And at the end of the day, if they are, like they're people I don't really care about probably. They probably don't have my best interest in mind. The people who care about me and support me are going to be the people who don't care if I win, lose, or drop out.
Yeah, I mean, last year though there was a really nice tailwind for most of the. I did run it last year. I wasn't up there this year for it, but it did look like the even though it didn't seem like it was too windy, it did look like it got a little bit warm towards the end of that race. Is that what you were feeling?
Yeah, it was warm even on the starting line. Usually I start grandma's with a pair of gloves on and I didn't need that. And then it was not super windy, but because the wind is coming off of the lake, it was a bit of a headwind, which just got to be pretty tiring, especially I spent some of the race alone, not being able to draft on anybody. And sometimes even when I did have a group of guys, there's like always a weird dynamic. I don't know, sometimes guys aren't super thrilled that you're drafting on them. And I had a really good pack for a while, but it ended up falling apart. So yeah, the conditions just weren't nearly as great as they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see some of the replay of the race, and it did look like you were like periodically with the same group of guys, but not like consistently. Were they kind of surging, or what was going on? Can you give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, I don't even know how long it was into the race. Maybe like 2 or 3 miles in. I had a lot of guys passing me in like the sub-elite field. And finally, this guy kind of slowly came up on me, and I was like, hey, what's your goal? Because I kind of felt like we were matching up. He's like 225, and I was like, cool, let's hang out. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And then from there, we picked up a couple other guys. And I ended up looking on Strava after because I was like, I don't like you when you're in the middle of a marathon, sometimes you get this weird marathon brain and you're like, what happened to them? Like, did I drop them? Did they drop me? And I got dropped by one of the guys and I dropped a couple of the others. Yeah, we just like kind of slowly faded as we all got tired.
Because it's also surprising for me to hear that too, because I would feel like I don't know. I'm not in that like sub elite men's marathoning category, and I never will be. But I would always feel like if there was someone trying to work hard together in the same pace, I'd be like, let's go. I mean, do you think? I mean, I guess I'm asking you to put yourself in their minds, but do you think it's like an ego thing, or like what's your sense on like when sometimes dudes don't want to let you run with them? That seems very strange.
Yeah, this year the group I had was phenomenal. They were like
Okay.
chatting me up and
Yeah.
telling me stories, and one guy was like, "I don't know if you're tired of me talking, but like I have running stories." And I was like, "All day long,
Okay.
talk all day long. If you've got the energy, please get my mind out of where I'm at." But I had 2 years ago, the first time I had one, I ran with a group of guys who were really snarky to me. It was like an ego thing of like, "Oh, we're running with a woman," and I'm like, "Well, at least it's a leading woman." But yeah, I have no complaints about the guys I was running with this year.
Well, that's good to see. How about hydration on the course? How'd that work for you?
Yeah, this was probably my best year at Grandma's. It's a smaller race. They don't have the resources that Boston or New York have, where you can have 30 tables out there and each table only has 4 bottles on it. This one's a little bit more of a gamble. It's just kind of like they have these 50 bottles and they throw them on a table and it's like best of luck. So in previous years, I have had to like literally stop at tables.
Oh,
This year it was a lot more smooth. I think I did a better job with my taping and like the pipe cleaners,
okay.
decorating. And I only missed 1 bottle, but I had carried goose in my sports bra, just kind of knowing that this was a little bit more iffy getting your bottles. And I felt like this go around, I did my best job. hydrating and like not, I didn't bonk at all. I don't feel like I never really had like hit that wall. So I learned a lot in this marathon. Typically I don't put goos in my sports bra because I know I'm going to get my bottles, but I think having those goos, and when I was like mentally just really grinding, I'd take one out and just kind of chew on it for a while because I was like, I'm just like feeling like I just need something different to focus on. And honestly, that helped me.
Okay, so you got goose for your gels, and then what about what's in the bottles for you?
I use Tailwind Nutrition
Okay.
with caffeine.
Okay, caffeine for all the bottles?
Yeah, caffeine. There's no limit of caffeine
Okay.
in my system.
Awesome. Now, it seemed like this year there was a lot of fan support along the course for you specifically. And it was exciting to see like there was like a lot of, it seemed like there was a lot of kids that had signs for you, and that would always get you really excited. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you just gave me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like if there's any time I feel like I've made it as a professional runner, it's in Duluth because I have so much support. And a little fun story that a lot of people like have DM'd me about is along the course, my dad went up the night before and put a bunch of signs in the ground and did chalk all the way down the course. So every couple of miles he like left me a little note, and it was really sweet. I knew he had did it. I didn't know what he had written along the course, and I thought that was just something that was really nice for me to take my mind off of. And then I got so many DMs after being like, I saw so many Go Dakota signs along the way. But yeah, when I would get to a crowd, there was no time where somebody didn't cheer for me. It was like so many people saying like, "Go get that three-peat! Duluth is here for you!" Just like calling me by name, which is just so different than like when I went to the New York City half marathon this spring. I was running with Molly Huddle and Des Linden, and we were all three grinding together, just about to come into Central Park, and all I could hear was "Go Des, go Molly, go Des, go Molly." I'm literally right here. So it was a nice like change to be the person that's like getting rooted for rather than just like overlooked.
Awesome. That's very cool. I had the chance to see you, I think, like warming up. I saw you, like I yelled at you in Central Park before the New York Marathon, and then I saw you briefly at a Puma event in Boston. I think I also met your agent there as well.
Oh yeah.
And you were there with your teammate, Annie. As you guys are now like moving on from like spring and summer marathons and starting to look into fall, or I guess probably looking more forward towards the trials. Do you guys have fall marathons on the schedule? At least I know you always can't talk about specifics, which ones, but like yay or nay, is there a fall marathon in the future for you and or your teammates that you know of?
Yeah, we'll definitely be racing again. It's kind of a weird timing, like to not do another marathon from now until February is a long time to not do a marathon, especially when you tend to do them as often as I do. I'm actually named the alternate for the world's team in Budapest
Okay.
later this summer. So if, Kira, Susanna, or Lindsay were to drop, I would take my spot there. But otherwise, I do have a backup plan. I will be doing a fall marathon because I just love the marathon. There's nothing I'd rather be doing.
So then what's that like training wise for you? Like if you're the alternate, Budapest is really soon. So like, is it a matter of like, well, I'll maintain fitness for now just in case, or like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I have this week completely off, and typically when I have an off week, I'm a pretty hard cross trainer just because I mentally like I need it. But I've been given strict instructions to completely lay off.
Okay.
I am not allowed to do any sort of cross training, so I'm going to do some golfing this week just to get my mind off of things. But I will probably jump back in and get like a good baseline fitness where if I am called, like maybe I only have to do a few workouts to kind of get back into that real marathon grind. But I think we're going to play it as if I'm not on the team, and then if I am, we'll switch our plan for that.
And is that something for you that happens relatively easy? Because like I feel like it's probably not a very universal thing in terms of how quickly someone can turn around from like maybe I need to stay fit to I need to get fit. Like how have you had that situation before?
So this is the second time I've done that like Boston to grandma's turnover, and it does seem to work actually really well for me to just kind of maintain fitness off of a marathon and then like spend a month just kind of doing baseline stuff and then just doing like a couple weeks of really hard marathon training. Because I think I almost get overcooked too quickly when it comes to like the big marathon grind. So if anything, I think it would play to my advantage if I got called. But you just can't make those decisions for other people.
Sure.
So we'll just be waiting.
I have a couple of questions, not necessarily about grandmas, that I feel like, every time we talk, we got to talk about the easy run paces. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it was funny. I think you called me out maybe a month ago or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It might have been, I think, maybe that first day it was right around when I had gotten sick, I think. And I remember I went out for that run and you commented on my Strava. I maybe ran like a 7:10 pace. I
It
don't
was a
remember
7,
what it
and I was
was.
like, what is this?
Oh yeah, 7 flat pace. And you called me out. You're like, I've never seen you run this slow. So then on my double, I went out and I ran really hard because I was like, I've got to just prove him wrong at this point. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I've talked about it with a few of my teammates recently because they're like, maybe if you slowed down, you could hit your workouts harder and then in turn hopefully be faster in the marathon. But for me, I don't go out there and think like run fast, run fast, run fast. Like that 640 pace, 645 pace is what comes easily to me when I shut my brain off and I'm like, just go with the flow. I do think I could slow down and that would help my workouts, but like I can't mentally do that. I can't do it without thinking, I guess.
Well, the reason I bring it up, because I'm looking at, so like I'm on Instagram, like the weekend of grandmas, and then one of my friends, Amelia Benton, has in her story, she's like, oh, look who I ran into. And she has a selfie with you. And I'm like, oh, that's cool that they saw each other. Ah, man, I wish I was up in Duluth this weekend. And then the next thing in her story is like, no, we did not run together because she's shaking out at 650 pace. So this is your chance, like, to fact check Amelia Benton, the journalist. Were you doing your shakeout run before grandma's at 650 pace?
Let me pull up my Strava. I do think if I had to guess, I did like 657 pace.
Okay.
We'll see. I'll fact check right now. 656 pace.
Okay, so I mean,
honestly, that's a slow day for me.
That is on the slower end from what I've seen for you doing on an easy day. Okay, so then let's say either you get to run at Worlds or you get to put in a fall marathon. Kind of like, I think I would understand what the goals would be if you're running at Worlds. That's kind of self-explanatory. But let's say it's a fall marathon and the big goal is to run well at the trials. Like, what does the mindset look like for you in terms of like what you'd be trying to get out of that race for that?
Well, this is kind of a tough topic because like we don't have a course for the trials yet. The rumors are it's flat.
Yeah.
But we don't know. But my fall marathon is based on a flat Orlando course. I've never done a flat marathon before. Even grandma's, you've run it, it's rolling. So I'm going to a flat marathon to just get that feel, understand what it feels like to grind and use those same muscles really continuously because doing a grandma's, a Boston and New York, you're constantly changing muscle groups. So I want to know what that feels like at the end. And I think just based on how I do in practice on flatter courses, I really think I'll be more successful on a flat course. And I want to just gain that confidence going into the trials.
And so for like a race like that is that more of like a time trial kind of race for you, or like try to work on race strategy, or like what are some of like kind of like the kind of practicing goals that you'd be setting for something like that?
Yeah, I think I'll be going to compete and being able to like cover moves because we all know the trials never is a fast time trial course typically. It's usually run really smart. So I think I want to be able to go and find a group who's going to be making moves and then just try to contend with them and see how I feel at the end.
And then, so how does the training adjust then to kind of like facilitate that for you?
I think we'll do a little bit more on the speedy side so that I have that turnover. Like when I went from Boston to Grandma's this go around, we didn't have time to touch speed very often. So when Lauren passed me, it was like I was just dead in the water. I didn't have anything to give. And so I think I need to focus a little bit more on speed from now until the trials. So I have some muscle strength to cover those moves.
And then how much training will you be doing with like Annie in terms of getting ready for fall marathons and getting ready for the trials. I mean, I feel like it's very useful to have another fast, powerful American marathoning woman in the same group. Are you guys be training a lot together?
Yeah, we train together most of the time when our marathons are lining up, and then we both plan to go down to Orlando and train down there for 2 months before the trial, so we'll be running together every day. And honestly, we are a good little combo. She's somebody who likes to do her easy runs like super, super slow,
Okay.
like crazy slow,
Like
in my opinion.
7:30s maybe?
No, she'll do like eights, nines, and then of course I'm really fast, so I think we even each other out. And there are days where I'm like, Annie, I need to just chill today. I'm gonna just, run behind you, and that kind of puts my like governor on. It forces me to slow down. And then there are days where she's like, I'm feeling a little speedy today for my easy run. I'll keep up with you today.
And so the plan, like I think this year in the winter, you guys were in Phoenix, is that right? To train for a little bit, get away from the Minnesota winter?
We were in Albuquerque,
Oh,
New
okay.
Mexico. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we were together for over 2 months, so
Okay.
we had a good
Okay.
time.
So not a lot of winter treadmill running for you in Minneapolis?
Thank goodness, no. But it was I believe, one of like the snowiest winters on record up
Yeah.
here. So I was feeling pretty bad for my teammates and for my athletes I coach. But
Okay.
I did come back. We came back from Albuquerque training for Boston and did have to get on the treadmill a couple times anyway.
So for this, getting ready for the trials, if you're going to be in Orlando, then there won't be a lot of altitude training for you. Is that something that you're going to be getting in some other way?
Orlando's going to be so humid, or it's likely to be so humid, that I think getting that heat training is going to be worth the altitude.
Okay.
And I just can't imagine going to altitude in a really dry environment, not getting used to the humidity, because anybody who's ever raced in the humidity knows how draining that can be. And I think it's better to be ready for that rather than have the altitude training.
Do you have another race on the calendar right now that you can talk about yet, or no?
I am gonna there's a Tracksmith 5K at the end of July here in the cities.
Okay.
I haven't broken 16 in the 5K yet,
Okay,
and
okay.
I'll be damned if I don't do it this time.
You know what, though? I think we talked about this last year.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what I think I ran a 16:01 or a 16:02.
It was
So
really close. You were off
I
by a
will be
couple seconds.
diving across the line if I'm that close.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be rooting for you to break that 16 minutes
Yeah,
at the
thank you.
Tracksmith 5000. And then also we'll be following the entire journey for you between now and the Olympic trials. So we're rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you so much.